What the Tech is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use offer code WhatTheTech10.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Adrian, and of course I'm joined by the legend, Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
I'm okay. I'm not sure I'm a legend, but
I think in many people's eyes you are, Paul. I think you should just accept it.
It's too bad.
Just too bad. How you doing?
I'm pretty good.
How
are you?
Very good. A lot to talk about today, actually. I've been using my Windows phone for about a week now. Exactly a week.
Yep.
I'm doing a little experiment with it. There's a lot of Microsoft stuff happening in the next couple of weeks. A lot of people are excited over that. 8.1 will be coming out in about 2 days. So what is it like for you right now? I mean, this is like the season. You're excited, right?
So I thought what this was going to be like was the calm before the storm, you know? Surface 2, Surface Pro 2 are coming out in about a week. Like you said, Windows 8.1 is coming out this week. And so, obviously, I've got a lot of stuff planned around that. I figured I could just pad out the time with some tip articles and stuff like that. But it's actually been really busy. Stuff happened.
I could imagine. A lot of people are getting excited about this.
Yeah.
So before we get into everything that's happening, last week, if you guys were watching live, you saw us do, actually, if you're watching pre-record after on demand, you guys saw us do a little unboxing of this phone, the 520, the Nokia Lumia 520. And I didn't get a plan. It comes with a SIM. It's all prepaid. And I'm getting messages from people saying that there's a problem with the video. I can't do anything about it at this point. So it is what it is. I'm doing this experiment where I don't want to connect this to a cell provider. I want to use it via Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi hotspots only. Yep. And I want to see if I can make phone calls with this. So in my house, obviously, I'm connected via Wi-Fi, and it works great with Skype. I haven't tried another VoIP app. I'm looking for a VoIP app that isn't as high quality as Skype, maybe something that gives me the same quality as maybe like a phone line.
Right.
Skype works amazing. In my neighborhood, Xfinity and Time Warner have hotspots surrounding the entire city.
Oh.
I connected to an Xfinity provided by somebody that I know, and somebody also gave me a Time Warner login. And I'll tell you, Paul, I'm able to walk around and make phone calls with this thing.
Yeah, like you're on a normal phone.
Like I'm on a normal phone.
It's nice.
Do you guys have it in where you are? Like maybe in Boston they probably have it. But
no, not where I am, but
so I'm trying to see how much I could get away with it. At times it gets a little tricky, like if you're driving. But in my area, it's actually better than the 3G service and 4G service that I have. That's astonishing to me.
Yeah.
But the only thing I'm looking for an app right now that's kind of a lower end, VoIP line that I can make phone calls with that actually works. So if anybody has a suggestion, I'll definitely try it out. But it's actually really, I'm so surprised how well this thing works. I mean, you were telling me how good it is, and it's a lower end. Obviously, it's an entry level phone, but this is better than 90% of the stuff I've used.
I know. I keep telling people that. It's always like, oh, you're a Microsoft goon, No, it's really good.
So tell me about GDR3, because actually my wife got a message from one of our viewers, a DM, saying, hey, can you ask Paul about GDR3? And Jessica came to me and she's like, what is GDR3? I'm like, how do you know about that? She's like, people are asking me about it.
I'm installing it now on another phone. I thought I had gotten all my phones.
So right before we started, you brought up that I could install GDR3 on this.
Yep.
How does that happen? How does that work? What can I do?
All right. So, I mean, the background on this is that Microsoft has not had much success getting updates out to Windows Phone because carriers block that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And saying that carriers block that kind of thing is a little tough, but the real story is just that to ship something through a carrier costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're not per device, and they're not super excited to do that for devices that don't sell really well. Android doesn't get them either. I mean, this is not unique. It's only Apple is able to do this, and Apple has special arrangements with the carriers that they were able to get that Microsoft and Google were not, or Samsung or whoever. So that doesn't mean that Microsoft hasn't been updating Windows Phone 8. And in fact, they've shipped 3 fairly major updates to Windows Phone 8 over the past year. And Windows Phone 8 has been out for a year. And so internally, these things go by the name GDR, which is General Distribution Release. And so the first one came out, I think, in December of last year, and probably actually went out to phones sometime in the spring. And the second one Microsoft completed as long ago as April, if I'm not mistaken. And that went out to customers starting in August, although some devices on some carriers only very recently got it, and it's possible that a few phones still don't have it, depending on what carrier you have. So it always takes a couple months, for these things to fully roll out. This week, though, Microsoft announced GDR3, which they're kind of going public with it.
And last week, while we were doing the show, you said, wait a couple days. I can't tell you now, but I'll have more information. Okay.
Yeah, so the public name of this thing, they're calling it Update 3 because obviously GDR3 is a terrible name. And they're going public with it. And the reason they've gone public with it is that next week, Nokia is going to announce new devices that will come with GDR or Update 3 and will use some of the new features that it exposes, including 1080p screens, 5 to 6 inch size screens, that kind of thing, really like phablet type form factors. But it has a bunch of other stuff. And so obviously over the past year, Microsoft has been working, trying to figure out how they can get stuff out to users that want it early. A year and a half ago, they had promised an enthusiast preview program that they never were able to fulfill, where people could sign up and get this stuff early. And so actually for Update 3, they figured out a pretty nice loophole that will enable people who really want to get this update to get it right away. And so Update 3, or GDR3, is complete. It's not a beta. It's not a near final version. It is literally the final version of the software. The version you can get now is from Microsoft, and so it's Microsoft's code for Update 3. The eventual widespread public general release will include code from the handset maker, drivers, firmware updates, that kind of thing, potentially new apps and whatever. Nokia tends to put stuff out too, and also possibly from the wireless carriers as well. And so, if you wait, you can get Update 3 in the future, sometime months from now. And it may have additional stuff built into it. But the workaround that they came up with is pretty ingenious. They're going to allow anyone who is a member of any of Microsoft's developer programs to download an app that will unleash the floodgates, so to speak, and let you download the update. And the fun thing about that is that Apple has done that kind of thing for years. And so if you join the Apple developer program, you join I think it's called the iOS developer program. It's $99 a year, and you get beta versions of their software, which you can load on your devices ahead of time, before they are released. And so if you are a member of that program, maybe you know that this summer Apple released, I want to say 6 or 7 beta releases of iOS 7.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And so I'm a member of that program. I was updating my iPod Touch in this case over the summer to kind of follow along with those updates to see how that thing was going. The comparable Windows Phone program only costs $19 a year, but they also have other programs that are free. And so one of them is called App Studio. And what you do is you go to apps.windowsphone.com and you sign in with the same Windows Microsoft ID.
I want to do this right now while you're telling me.
Yep.
So what do I do?
Let's do it right now. So go to apps.windowsphone.com.
Windowsphone.com.
Actually, I'm sorry. It's apps.windowsstore.com. Sorry.
Okay. Let's see if I could do this. There you go. Apps. That's apes. .windowsstore.com.
Different site.
Okay.
And what you want to do is register on this site with the same Microsoft ID that you use to sign in on your phone.
So do I do start building?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just put it on me because I don't. Okay. What is my password? I don't know. Let's figure that out. Okay, it says accept your email address. Yes. Okay, it's saying by using this app, you select okay, register. Okay, so now create an account. So obviously I have to create an account.
Yep.
Create an empty account, and it says create an app from a template. So I guess I'm in, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the easiest way to do this is to do this from your phone. So go to winsupersite.com from the browser on your phone.
On my phone. Okay. So let's go to IE winsupersite.com.
Now, this article I'm going to direct you to is from yesterday, so it's going to be 10 articles down or something. But in the list of articles you're going to see, there will be an article called Windows Phone Update 3: Update Your Handset Today! Exclamation point.
Hang on, I have to get off the Xfinity network because I had it on Xfinity, so I could test this. So I have to go to my network to do it. So is it a fairly easy update to do? I imagine it's
yeah. I mean, so the way that it works, generally speaking, is that by getting into the developer program, you are now gaining access to an app that you can download to your phone. You just check a box, say, "Yep, I want to do this," and then you go check for updates, and GDR3 will be in your updates. And if you've ever updated Windows Phone, and I guess you haven't because you just got one, it works like any other update would work. It works over the air. Downloads the phone. It probably takes about 15, maybe 20 minutes on that phone overall. It will reboot a few times.
What's the name of it? So I'm on WinSuperSite.
Oh, they just got off of that page.
Windows Phone slow
it's
down.
Called Windows Phone Update 3: Update Your Handset Today. Here's a picture of a blue phone.
And what day was it?
Yesterday.
Okay, definitely not the 13th then.
Right.
Okay. Let's scroll. I know this is great radio right now, but now well, I need to do this.
So while you're doing this, let me just explain a couple of caveats because it isn't for everybody, right? Update 3 requires that you have GDR2 previously installed. Like I said earlier, that's most phones, but it's important to know if you may not have it. You do. It's on the 520. It's possible that installing this update will void the warranty that you have with the wireless carrier. You bought a no contract phone. It's a $99 phone. I mean, who really cares? But for people who maybe spent $300 on a 1020, you should know that. That said, it is the shipping RTM version of the software. I don't think you're going to have any issues. But again, if you're nervous or whatever, you should just know about that. You can't uninstall it, so you can't go back to GDR2 using normal methods anyway.
I mean, why would someone want to do that? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know. Maybe you install it and you're like, this isn't for me. It's so awesome. I'm not. I don't like stuff that's good. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it doesn't work for you for some reason. I have no idea. But later down the road, wireless carriers will release this update on their networks, and at that time there might be firmware updates and driver updates and things like that. You will get those eventually. Like you can get those. So that might, that will.
Okay, so I have to download that app preview for developers, right?
Yep.
Okay, so and then sign into that.
That's right.
Okay, so let's do that.
So this is just a simple app. It's got a little wizard on it. You kind of step through it. I think the beginning just says explains what you're doing. It's this preview, and you enable it. You can run the app later and disable it, and that will just disable future updates. It won't, revert your phone. You sign in, and then you click done, and you're done. And then let me know when you're done.
Okay. If I could type in my password, that would be a huge help. Okay, so it says enable preview, done, success, done.
Okay.
Okay.
So now what you need to do is go to the settings interface, which is like that gears icon on the home screen, unless you can't.
I feel like this is a whole new world. Like, I feel like this is Windows 95 all over again, and I'm discovering system files.
Sure.
And what they each do.
So, I mean, from here out, the process of finding and installing the update is just like it would be normally, as if this thing had really been released to the public.
Okay, I got to go to About or phone? No, phone update, right?
No, phone update.
Okay. It's not Android. That's how Android is. You got to go to About and then phone update.
Yep.
Okay, check for updates,
obviously. The funny thing is, from here, it's going to happen automatically, at least the downloading part. So it's going to check for updates. This will take a little while. And then it will come back, and it will say downloading updates and then preparing updates. And then you'll have to okay it. You can either do it immediately or postpone it. You'll choose now or whatever the choice says.
We'll do it throughout the show.
Yeah.
I think it'll be cool.
Yep.
And maybe the viewers could
do
it.
Reboot a few times. You'll see gears on the screen.
And this is available for the 520, the 620,
everything that runs Windows 8, Windows Phone 8 with GDR2.
Have there been any reports on the older ones and what the performance would be on some of the older Windows Phone 8 phones?
No, but the phone that you're using right now represents the lowest end phone that there is.
Oh, okay.
So even like a 620, which came out earlier, is actually slightly better specs. A 520, I'm sorry, an 820, which I bought on AT&T, I don't know, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever that was. Much better specs than a 520. I've done this on an HTC 8X. I've done it on all my Nokias. It works fine.
So by the way, it's still saying updating. Checking for update. I don't know if that's normal, that it takes that long. Okay, so I'll set this down and then we'll get back
Trust me, if there was no update, it would come back damn quick.
So
like on my phone, now the one I thought I'd done all my phones, I didn't do this one. It's now downloading updates, and it's on 83%. It will say update status. You'll see like a colored bar goes across. Yeah, so it's finished downloading, and on mine it says update status, preparing to install. That actually takes a little while. I don't know what I think it unpacks the download or whatever.
So what I'll also do is I'll put out a separate video for people who want to do this and they kind of want to like do the steps while I'm doing it. I'll put out a separate video after we're done with the show, kind of showing how to do this and saying
it's really it's not hard at all. And the process of joining App Studio to make this happen it's not just free. It's really simple.
To kind of talk about the phone again. I know we've been doing it, but to kind of reflect back on my week. Something that I've noticed with this phone is that the battery life is phenomenal compared to my Android phone. And I did two tests. One, I did this. Oh, it's updating. Look at that, 53%.
It just happens. It doesn't. Yeah, it just happens.
Yeah. So I did two tests. One, I used it everyday use. I made some Skype calls. I did some web browsing, and I did get about a full day out of it. Full day of use, normal use. The standby mode on this thing is phenomenal because I can let this sit and like 4 or 5 days, I don't need to charge it. I don't have any cellular data, obviously, on this thing, so it's not constantly doing it. And GPS is enabled on it, so it'll still be using the GPS for applications. But I was getting all my updates, and I got about 4.5 days with this.
Yeah,
just sitting there.
That's not bad. Yep,
that's not bad at all. So I was actually excited about it. Are they announcing when this is going to be coming out? Is it going to be a regular update that's pushed for everybody, or is it only going to be on the new line?
They have already delivered this to wireless carriers for testing. They can't say with any certainty, and so they don't try anymore. But the way they say it is that the general purpose kind of public release they would normally have done will happen sometime in the coming months. Because they can't say. I mean, GDR2 was finalized in April. It didn't hit wireless carrier. Well, it came out on new phones maybe like the very last day of July, but was released to the public sometime in April on existing phones. And so the delta between that is 4 months. I mean, it could be a while.
Yeah.
This new way of doing this by pushing it out through these developer programs, beautiful. It solves all the problems.
My biggest complaint of Windows Phone is the lack of apps. I mean, that's probably the only major thing that I found wrong with it. It's a lack of apps, and I'm hoping that changes.
I think it just depends on how you use a phone. Like I just never run into this. Like I couldn't care less. Like it has exactly what I want. I mean, of course, this is the argument that people give to me when I complain about Windows RT. They're like, Windows RT does exactly what I want. What's the problem? I mean, obviously. Apps are a problem for Windows Phone. They know this. I don't recall where I heard this recently, but I think it was Joe Belfiore who said that, we're 10 to 12 apps away from having everything we need, but it's those 10 to 12 apps that are going to kill you. It's the ones that everybody wants that, just don't exist for whatever reason. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it doesn't have those 10 to 20 apps that normal people are using, like Instagram. You know, a lot of our viewers will think that's a silly thing to not buy the phone over, but
Sure.
when millions, I think they said something like 30 million people are using Instagram, when they're all Instagramming, you know what? That's a big chunk out of the sale for Microsoft. If I'm going to a store and I know this doesn't have it, it's going to be a
it's like
disappointment.
when the Lumia 1020 shipped and has the best camera you can get on a smartphone. It's not even close. Doesn't have Instagram. You know, it's like it is kind of a tough one. Now, and I know people are listening to this who know everything about this stuff, and they're saying, "What are you talking about? The camera quality in the 1020 is so awesome. Why would you want to destroy it with Instagram?"
People do.
It doesn't matter. That's what people do. Exactly. I mean, I hate Instagram. I hate the effect that Instagram has on photos. You know, I know it's possible to share photos on Instagram without ruining them, but most people seem to like these super high contrast kind of Polaroid from the 1970s look things that, I just don't get that stuff. But it doesn't matter if I like it. I mean, obviously it's popular. So, yeah, it needs to be on.
We have a lot to talk about. I want to talk about 8.1. I want to talk about the new Apple announcement. There's an event next week, Paul. I don't know if you know that. There's a big event. And actually, this is the event that I'm more interested in than the iPhone event. And I think that's going to be the case for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
A lot coming up. But before we do that, I want to talk about our sponsor. And I want to thank our sponsor, and that's Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own website, portfolio, and now an online store. You get 10% off if you decide to stick with them, but you get a free trial anyway by going to Squarespace. No credit card needed, nothing like that. By using offer code WhatTheTech10, you get 10% off your purchase with Squarespace. Now, I'm just going to run down some of the reasons why you should deal with Squarespace rather than doing it on your own. A lot of people choose to do their websites on their own, but it is a headache. You got to find the host. You got to get the domain company. You got to install whatever platform you're going to be doing, WordPress or Joomla or whatever it is. With Squarespace, everything is taken care of. You are provided with beautiful themes, or you could customize it if you want, but you're provided with these beautiful, beautiful themes. And the code in the background, the back end, is as beautiful as the front end is. They're making sure that the website is getting crawled, SEO all the way. You're getting 24/7 support 7 days a week. Plus, you can start off at just $8 a month. And that includes your free domain name when you sign up for a year. It's phenomenal. Can't go wrong with that. Talk about the e-commerce solution. Somebody just called me, and they want an e-commerce store for their deli in Manhattan. I just started playing around with the e-commerce store. I should have some more information for you guys next week about the e-commerce, but I'm starting to experiment with it, and it's super easy. Rather than having to go do everything yourself, they take care of everything. You can set up a shop and sell whatever you want, digital or even regular goods. That's squarespace.com. Offer code is WhatTheTech10, and you get 10% off by signing up. And it helps us out, and it shows that you're supporting What the Tech. I want to thank Squarespace for supporting the show and supporting the network. So, Paul, let's talk about Windows 8.1. That's going to be coming out in about 2 days.
Okay.
I was imagining, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong, and I want the audience to tell me what they think of this. If I was Microsoft, right, let's say I am the actual company, and I operate on my own. I'm self-sufficient. Yep. I don't need anybody running me. I would have made sure that there's more PR and more press around the fact that we've added all of this, and we've changed all of this. I've seen very little.
8.1.
In 8.1. I have seen very little press about 8.1.
Well, that's going to happen. It's already happening, actually, to a small degree, I should say. There are 8.1 ads on TV, and there are, of course, Surface ads as well for the new Surface, which runs 8.1. But I think they want to not get too ahead of themselves. I think they're kind of building up to the fact, to it being released, because it's kind of a tough thing to say, hey, we fixed everything that was wrong about Windows 8, but you can't get it yet.
Yeah.
So it's going to be out in 3 days. So I think that's going to be when that stuff all happens.
How big of an ad campaign do you expect to see from this? Not for Surface, but for 8.1 itself.
I haven't heard yet. I mean, I really do think Microsoft has a good story to tell here. And there's 3 parts to it. There's the general Windows 8 story, which I think was always pretty good. It's just that the implementation of that first version wasn't that great. And that story is, we have one system that does it all. That you don't need to have separate devices to do these things. A lot of people, if they travel, for example, which is something I would do for work, you bring a laptop, and then you bring this tablet thing so you can watch movies or play games or whatever. And their story now is like, look, we enabled this new kind of device that does everything on one device. And if you get a modern device, you can take it apart and use it as a tablet. You can plug it back together, use it as a laptop. That's a fairly compelling story. But the new part to Windows 8.1, aside from the obvious stuff, it's more mature, more features and so forth, is that on the one hand, it enables a better experience for desktop users, which was a big complaint with Windows 8. And so it doesn't completely eliminate Metro, but you can almost eliminate it. And you can configure your system so that it's kind of desktop-centric. And I think a lot of people are going to like that and appreciate that capability.
You mean like you could set it up where you don't have to log in? I mean, you don't see Metro ever again if you don't want to.
Well, it's still creeping around on the edges here and there, but by and large, yes. You can bypass the start screen. You can boot right to the desktop. You can have a special version of the start screen, which looks like, or it doesn't look like, but it works like the old start menu. It pushes your desktop apps to the front of it, and so you can get to them more easily, that kind of stuff. And I think people will appreciate that once they get past their grumbling. And then for the people who actually do use Windows 8 or Windows RT 8.1 on a tablet, it has more of the controls that you need to stay in that environment and not have to go into the desktop. Yeah. And that was one of the big complaints with 8.0, where you could do, it was crazy. Like you would make I'll just use one example. This is my classic example. You could make a new user in the Metro environment, but if you wanted to make that user an administrator so that they could change the settings on the computer,
you had to go into desktop.
You had to go to the desktop.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was so weird. Like you could do half of it over here.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of those. There were a ton of those.
Yeah. And so they've changed it all around. It's not, I actually uncovered some weirdness in networking today that is actually a step back from Windows 8, unfortunately. But by and large, I would say 8.1 is a fairly major improvement. Not because there's like this one big bang thing, although there are a couple of those.
For you, as someone that has been using Windows 8 for, I mean, almost 2 years now, right? You were using the beta for a while, and and you liked it. I mean, you've always liked it. You've been critical of the things that, rightfully so, should be criticized. But are you seeing a major update? Like, is this changing anything for you as a power user? Like, are you in 8.1 and say, wow, that is a drastic improvement over 8?
I'm in a weird spot because I have slightly different needs than most people. I mean, I write about Windows for a living. I'm writing a book about Windows 8.1. And so I actually configure my computer in ways that aren't necessarily optimal for me because I need to experience some of this stuff. And I will say that, it's going to sound like kind of a weird example, but in Windows 8, the mail app, the mobile app that shipped with that system was pretty lousy. Like, actually, it was really lousy.
In Metro.
Yeah, and the version that ships in this new version is really nice. And so one thing that I do, it's interesting. I don't do this on my computer. Like the computer I'm using here, I don't typically. I tried this for a while, but I don't sit here and use the mail app on this computer with the 27-inch screen. But I will sit down on the couch with a Surface device while we're watching TV or whatever, or maybe before we're watching TV, I'm just hanging out on the couch. Maybe I'm reading, whatever it is. And I use that mail app on the devices. And I have to say that experience is very pleasant. And the way that works, the way you can triage email, the way you can archive email, and, archive is not an automatic feature, but you kind of drag email into folders that you may have created. I think it's really nice. And so that's kind of a typical example of the maturation of something that was just super basic in 1.0 or 8.0, I guess, and is now not just better, but much better and is suddenly usable. It's not this laughing stock joke. It's like, this actually is really nice. It's a nice app.
I'm excited for it. What I actually did, and I maybe someone could help me out. I have this Lenovo laptop here that I totally took out Windows 8, 8.1. Windows 8 because of a specific driver that I use is not on Windows 8. So I totally blew it away. And when I was reinstalling 7, it wouldn't allow me to do it because it was doing some weird partition thing with the hard drive where it wouldn't let me install an older version. So I literally had to kill the entire hard drive, rebuild the partitions. And when I did that, I had to kill the recovery portion of this hard drive.
Oh, so you can't get it back to its the recovery.
So I cannot get it back to the recovery. I got to figure something out.
You could have made a recovery disk.
Yeah, but that makes way too much sense for me.
Okay.
I mean, why would I make a recovery disk knowing that 8.1 is coming out?
Because it's better.
Yeah. So,
well, actually, I'll tell you why. I mean, so one of the bits of advice I have, and I'm going to be writing up some. I intended to do this already this week, but like I said earlier, stuff has been happening, so I've been kind of under the gun. But with regards to Windows 8.1 and the pending release of it, one of the things I'll say is that they've completely changed the way that upgrades work. And so when you look at the way things were in Windows 8, and you look at the way they are now in Windows 8.1, completely different. And what that means in the real world is that if you're running an older version of Windows XP, Vista, or 7, and you want to upgrade to Windows 8.1 directly, just go right to 8.1. Well, for one thing, you're not going to do it for free, right? You have to pay for it. So it's really expensive. I think it's $99 for the core version and $199 for the Pro version, or whatever the prices are. It's expensive. That's one thing. So you got to pay for it. The second one is that you're going to lose everything, and so what you're really doing is a migration, and you're not going to bring your apps along with you, your desktop applications. And so if you have Office on there or Photoshop, you got to in some cases uninstall those apps. In some cases, you got to remember to deactivate them. You got to do that with Adobe apps. You got to do that with Apple's iTunes, things like that. And you're basically starting over from fresh. The only exception to that is Windows 8. And so if you go from Windows 8 to Windows 8.1, that's the one instance where you can, if you want to, just do a straight, what we think of as an in-place upgrade. And it will bring everything over, your settings, your documents, and your applications. So given that, there is the interesting possibility, if you're running Windows 7, for example, or even one of the other versions of Windows, but if you could go to Windows 8 first, your experience upgrading to Windows 8.1 would probably be better, in the sense that you could bring forward all those other things too.
Would you? What are they going to do with SP updates? Is that totally gone now? SP updates are now just the new version,
like service packs.
Yeah.
According to Microsoft, there are not going to be any more service packs, and so I don't know how they're going to handle these things cumulatively as the days go by. But they were updating Windows on an ongoing basis, and so in the past they would collect those updates and sometimes add other features and call that a service pack. Smaller cumulative updates were just called cumulative updates. Sometimes they do that, or an update roll up or something like that. I don't know exactly how they're going to handle it, but 1 year after Windows 8, we have Windows 8.1. It's an update. It's just you might think of it as a service pack or a feature pack, however you want to call it, but it's an update to the OS. 1 year from now, are we going to have Windows 8.2? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what their plans are.
I hope for the next 10 years they just add a point whatever. Pull an Apple. I mean, they've been doing
that's what Apple did. I mean, right? I mean, there's no reason we can't stay on 8 for a while, other than the fact that I'm a little bit worried that Windows 8, the name or the brand has been sullied, right?
You think it's that tarnished right now? I mean, I doubt more than Vista.
Saying it's a possibility. I mean,
You think more than Vista?
Yeah, I mean, that would be as much as Vista, right? That's the problem. I don't think it's as bad as Vista yet, but the question is whether it is as bad as Vista.
I'm hoping they do like a Mojave Project commercial again,
Well, they can't, because this time they did update it, right? So with Vista, they never updated it. There were service packs, but the Mojave Project was all about this thing you think is crappy isn't crappy. Look, we've been updating it, and now it's pretty good.
And that was a great commercial. Great commercial.
But with Windows, it was. But with Windows 8, they have updated it. They've released an update. It's called Windows 8.1. So they really can't do the Mojave Project, because now there literally is a new version of Windows.
A little update here. It's restarting here. Goodbye.
Yep.
Tells me goodbye. So
So what we'll probably do now is boot into that Gears screen. You'll see the two grindy gears. Let me see what mine's doing.
I got the AT&T logo.
Yeah. So mine. Okay. Did you already? I must have forgotten to do this. So I got the your update is ready to be installed screen.
Yeah. I got that, and I hit OK.
Okay, and that's what rebooted it.
Yeah. So it says Nokia, and I got the Gears. So there you go.
Yeah, and that will go for a while.
Okay.
That will go for 10 minutes, whatever.
All right. So we'll let it sit there. I don't know, Paul. I'm actually excited about 8.1 because I do feel that those little changes are enough to kind of shift someone in the direction where like, oh, okay, I could kind of do this. You know, like
I hope so. I mean, I like, as you sort of alluded to, I've been using this for a while, and I actually have no problem with it. I work primarily with the desktop. I think it works great. I think it looks great. I think the desktop environment, the flat look that they have, I think it looks great. It's very productive. There are always these things people are going to complain about. You know, the start menu is still not back. It's not coming back. I'm sorry. You know, the start search feature works differently. You know, I'm sorry. And I certainly have noticed problems with that myself as well. But I don't think that any of these things are, I don't know, showstoppers. I mean, none of these things are ever going to be exactly the way that everybody wants because Windows is used by such a diverse group of people. I mean, I think the improvements in this are important. And I think that this is going to be a much better experience for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm hoping it.
Yeah.
I also think that, you know, I've been really critical of the OEMs for a while, but I was out shopping and I was looking at some of these newer laptops out there, and I do think that they're these newer ones that have been coming out the last couple months, they're kind of getting their act together finally.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you know, like it's just now happening. It's been a year. It's been out for a year, and now they're realizing, like, oh wow, we actually do have to use some decent hardware in this thing to make it, you know, sell.
sure.
Even like the lower end ones, you know, like when I bought this Lenovo when Windows 8 came out, I spent $700 for it. For $700 now, I could get something much better than what I paid for.
Sure.
So
the other thing is, you know, and these new kinds of hybrid PCs, as I call them, the PCs that can transform or that, you know, actually come apart. You have like a tablet and a keyboard separate. You know, the initial designs weren't great, and last year it was okay. There was some stuff that was okay. I think this year we're going to have that perfect storm of upgraded and better software. You know, Windows 8.1, upgraded and better hardware. You know, new designs that have been based on feedback, and now they've seen how people have reacted to them and so forth. And then the platform stuff, you know, they're going to run on much better and more efficient Haswell, Bay Trail, and then on the RT side, at least for Surface, the Tegra 4 chipset. And so we'll see. You know, we'll have to see how that goes. But Tegra 4 should be much better performance. For the other guys, basically what we're talking about is slightly better performance, but more important, much better battery life. Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think yes. I mean, I think this is going to happen. You know, I think that's all going to. I think that's a fact. You know, I think this is true.
So let's go into while we're doing this update. I'm almost done actually. Look at that; it's moving really fast. While we're doing that, let's talk about the Apple event for October 22nd. This is the big one for me because I was not getting an iPhone. We all knew that the iPhone was not going to have any significant changes other than a fingerprint sensor, which actually, Paul, I was playing around with it this weekend. Works really good.
So, by the way, in a somewhat humiliating note, I will mention that my own iPhone 5S is in fact arriving today. I think you and I had a conversation a few weeks back where I was talking about, you know, the way the world is changing, and that, you know, Microsoft's role in this kind of post-PC world is a little different than it used to be. And obviously, I need to continue to test Windows and Windows devices, but I also need to be able to test Microsoft's software on non-Microsoft devices, right? Non-Microsoft platforms. And so I think going forward, I'm going to need to maintain new generation versions of Apple phones and tablets, and then Android phones and tablets as well. And, you know, so I had to get an iPhone. I'll get an iPad. I will get a Nexus 10 whenever that happens, and I'll get a Nexus 5
I think that's great. I mean,
whenever that
you
happens.
have to kind of do that because you're discussing all these different products and
well, I mean, just today, for example. So it's a little thing. This is not a big deal. This is not like game changer or anything, but Microsoft updated the version of SkyDrive Pro for iOS. I have an iPod Touch, you know, but I need to be able to look at this stuff. The thing is, you know, Microsoft currently has Office Mobile for iPod Touch and iPhone, but not for iPad. And so the interaction that this application has with other Microsoft apps differs depending on which device you're looking at. And this isn't a big one, but over time there will be big ones. There will be a version of Office for the iPad. There will be major Microsoft software releases on these platforms. It's not just about Windows anymore.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting change. I've always kind of tested other devices, of course. I've reviewed a lot of Apple products over the years, but I feel like now I can't just get in and get out. Like I need to actually keep this stuff around because Microsoft is going to be updating, their own software and services for these platforms, and so it's going to be a little expensive. I mean, that's kind of the problem. I'm suddenly glad that Apple only releases new products once a year.
Yeah, because it's going to get really expensive for you.
Because otherwise, I don't think I could afford it.
Well, I think this announcement is pretty significant because you have multiple products. I mean, the announcement, and I'll go down the list of some of the changes. They're saying that you're going to. I had the list and I lost it. I believe they said in about 2 weeks you're going to get the MacBook Pro updates. Which is going to be Haswell, obviously.
Those don't matter to me.
See, for me, that's a big deal because I have a 2011 MacBook Pro, and I want the Haswell chipset. The battery life is better. It's a lot faster. I also don't have a Retina display, so I kind of want the Retina display. But the big one is the iPad updates. You're getting a new iPad and an iPad Mini. And the Mini possibly will have a Retina display. And the new iPad will be obviously much faster, Retina display like it's always had, for the last couple of years, and it's going to be much thinner,
right?
And the bezel is going to be thinner. So these are significant changes.
Well,
for me,
I don't know, maybe.
I mean, no, for me because I have an iPad too.
Sure. Oh, so significant change, yes.
Yeah. So from the iPad 2
I've heard rumors that Apple may bump up the res of the iPad again. I actually think that would be a mistake. I like the idea of them using the style of bezel that they have on the Mac. I'm sorry, the iPad Mini, where it's thinner on the sides and a little taller on the top and bottom. I think that creates a kind of a prettier looking device, but it still retains that aspect ratio that I think actually really works well on a tablet. I think they did the right thing by not going real stretchy 16:9.
So here are some of the shots of the comparison.
Yeah, so it looks like, so it's funny. The big one suddenly looks like a big iPad Mini.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a nice style. I think that's a good look.
They're saying it's going to come in gold also, Paul.
Oh, it better.
I'm hoping it does because that's the one I'm getting. I'm getting the gold
Nothing
one.
says bling. What they need to do is start doing this to their MacBook Airs as well.
Diamond. You know what? I would not be surprised if they started offering a gold one, a carbon, gunmetal, whatever they call it, and just a regular silver one. That's a whole new line. You could buy 3 of the same one. You could have one in different colors. But it's interesting how
check
they.
Your phone. Your phone might have rebooted.
It did reboot. It says migrating your data, step 3 out of 6.
Yep. Okay, so it's in the almost done phase.
Okay.
Right.
Almost done.
Yeah. Okay. That will take a few minutes. That's not going to be too horrible.
Well, the most amazing part of this to me, and this signifies life after Steve Jobs for Apple, is the mishandle of that Mac Pro. How there's been no price announcement since they initially unveiled it. There's been no date.
All right, so supposedly they're going to announce this one too as part of this announcement. And I saw a rumor today where maybe this thing comes out in November. I think we can all agree it's going to be super expensive, right? And it's going to get stupid expensive depending on how you outfit it.
See, I'm going to go with the opposite end of that. I don't think it's going to be as expensive as the current line. And the reason why I say that is because it is not upgradable.
No, but that's not the point. I didn't read this article today, but I saw an article today that said it's time to admit that Apple is not a tech company; it's a luxury brand, and I actually agree with that completely. And I think of the Mac Pro, the new one, the one they're talking, this little trash can looking thing, as a real boutique-y kind of computer. It is a fashion statement. Someone made a great comment. I don't know if it was on Twitter. I'm appropriating this, and I apologize. I'm not doing this on purpose, but it wasn't me. But somebody came up with this great statement that said, the biggest problem with the Mac Pro is that you're supposed to put it, you're supposed to hide it, and that's not what people who buy this device are going to want. They want people to see it. It's designed to be the computer version of bling. Like they want people to notice, that they own this thing. It's such an Apple product. It's such a wonderful example of function over or form over function, right?
Yeah, but you got to connect. You're going to have like 50,000 connectors into the stupid little garbage can.
Sure. So,
I mean, that's gonna...
you know, this strategy didn't work with the Mac Cube or whatever they call that thing. I think it's going to be fine. I think it's okay. I think that most mainstream and even most high-end Mac users can get by. And get by is such a stupid term, but will do just fine with an iMac, because you can outfit those things with an i7, lots of RAM. It's got a beautiful display. It's got lots of external expansion as well. I think that's a fine computer for most people. I just don't think this is just such a different kind of, this is the type of product that no other company could sell. You know?
Yeah. I mean, Sony's been trying it for years to have these, you know, higher end PCs, and nobody's buying them.
Nobody wants one.
Nobody wants one. No, I mean, the Vios, they're beautiful computers. Even the laptops are Sony Vios, but nobody wants to buy. You know what? I was in a Google Hangout, which I love doing these Google Hangouts because I love Google knowing everything that I want to talk about. But
sure.
I was in a Google Hangout with a couple of people, a couple of our viewers actually, and we were doing a price comparison between the MacBook Pro, I think the MacBook Air, and just, you know, competitors, just clones that, you know, HP is selling and Dell is selling. The pricing was surprisingly very close, except for Sony, where Sony starts off like their high-end Ultrabooks are like $2,600.
Yeah.
For a Sony Vaio. And I'm thinking,
that's ludicrous.
Who's the person going, and I'm telling you, the people that are buying that are walking into the Sony store. That's the only place they're selling these things.
I don't know where you'd find one these days, but
we have two of them here.
This is how I would, all I can say is this. Lenovo makes a machine called the ThinkPad X1 Carbon Touch. If you outfit that with as much RAM and whatever as you can do, and whatever the price of that thing is, I'm guessing the really high-end one, you're going to hit $2,000, maybe even a little north of $2,000.
Which one is it?
That is
Which
as
model?
much as any PC should ever cost, ever, period. That should be our luxury model. That should be, there is nothing better than it. So for Sony to be selling something that costs more than that is just a complete misunderstanding of the market.
Here we go. It's $1,429 for the Carbon Touch, the X1 Carbon Touch. There's a coupon, whatever.
Well, but that's where it starts, right? Because what I'm talking about is you go to the highest end i7 processor you can get. You add whatever RAM you can add. I bet you could spend $2,200 in this thing.
So let's see. Yeah, $1,700.
Yeah, but
you add a couple more. Yeah, $2,200. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
You know. And by the way, this thing hasn't yet been updated for 8.1 because that device still has like a 1600 by 900 screen. Obviously, the new version should have a Retina class display or at least a 1080p display, and I think you're going to see that happen. But all I'm saying is that's luxury in the PC world.
But who's buying these computers, Paul? Like, who's buying that computer?
Well, I would buy a computer like that. I happen not to buy it, and the reason I didn't buy that exact computer is that Lenovo doesn't make a 15-inch display. I like the slightly bigger display, and that was it. I mean, and so you know the Ultrabook that I bought a year ago August, I probably spent, I don't know if it was $1,200 or $1,400, but it was very expensive for a PC. I think it has, it has 8 gigs of RAM, but it's only an i5 processor. It's not like a super high-end anything, and the display is actually 1600 by 900. The new version of the new version of mine isn't out yet, but the new version of the 13-inch version, if you will, has a 1080p display. I'm sure the 15-inch version will come out soon, and that will have a 1080p, maybe even higher display, and it will be touch. The version I have is not touch. That's the only reason. But you know, honestly, like a 14-inch kind of splits the difference between 13 and 15, obviously, and that's what the X1 Carbon is.
Like the demo that's buying that, I don't think it's the same group of people that are walking into, you know, an Apple store and buying a Retina MacBook Pro.
Oh, okay.
Like,
well,
I don't think
know.
It's the same
I would say people spending a lot of money on a high-end ThinkPad like that one maybe are the same kind of people. It's kind of like, you know, this is a terrible example, but it's like I want to buy a BMW or I want to buy a, you know, Mercedes makes like luxury cars, but they also make performance cars, and I'm deciding between Mercedes and BMW. I mean, once you're in this kind of high-end price category, we're sort of splitting hairs as to who these people are. These are the same kinds of people. They may not be the exact same people, but they're the same.
I mean, Apple on their website starting is $1,199 for a MacBook Pro 13-inch i5, and it goes all the way up. I mean, you could spec this out, but I think the highest highest model is Yeah, 1700 plus you add an i7.
Same as the ThinkPad.
Yeah.
No, by the way, those machines are not comparable. So the Apple is much thicker and heavier. It also has a much higher end screen, right? It's got the super high res, whatever they call it, Retina display.
I guess it would be compared to the Air.
Yeah, but the problem is, so on the Air, it's the same thing. That machine also, well, it's 13, not 14 inches. The Air, I think it may also have a 1600 by 900 display. I could be wrong about that. I'm not as up on the Apple stuff, but I think it does. And ultimately, the Air is going to be probably going to be less expensive than the ThinkPad, actually, in that price range. But the Air doesn't have touch.
Yeah, no touch. Which, I mean, for me, I don't care for that. So someone like me, I'd be perfectly happy with an Air.
How dare you?
I could put on my hipster glasses and grab my iPhone and my iPad and start taking photos with it.
So, in August, I bought that 15-inch Ultrabook. Back in May of last year, this is 16, 17 months ago, there were rumors Apple's coming out with a 15-inch version of the Air. I thought that I'm going to buy one of those, because I knew Apple would get it right. I could put Windows on that thing. That'd be amazing. But Apple didn't come out with a 15-inch version of the Air. They came out with that machine you were just looking at, the MacBook Pro 15 Retina, whatever they call it. And it didn't cost, a couple $100 more than the 13-inch version of the Air. It cost like $1,000 more than the 13-inch version of the Air. And it wasn't super light and super portable. And actually, the battery life when you run Windows on it is terrible. So, that wasn't the machine I was looking for.
By the way, I'm all done. GDR3.
Yeah.
So what am I going to notice? Anything?
You want to look at some of the stuff that you can do in GDR3?
Yes. What can I do?
All right. So some of the cooler stuff, oddly enough, is in settings.
All right.
So sounds strange. I know.
Nothing says cool like your settings.
I know. So the first one that's in the list is screen rotation. I just read about this one today. It should be near the bottom of the first.
Yeah, I see it. It's on.
No big deal. Just on off. But this was a feature Windows Phone didn't have before this release. If you scroll down a little bit further, go down to phone storage. Okay. Now, what you should see on the 520 is it will say phone and then SD card, and there'll be like a line underneath each.
Yeah,
right.
I have 3.63 gigs free.
Okay. So tap on phone, and then this new display comes up, and it shows you how each of the items on the phone is taking up.
Click on phone storage.
So this is, by the way, completely different than previous to GDR3.
Okay.
Because you can actually tap on any of these items and manage that storage. So, for example, if you go to music and videos and tap on it, there's a manage button. And that actually, in this case, it brings you into the music and videos hub. And the point behind that is you can delete some music or whatever if you want to save some space. But in some of these cases, there's actually interfaces to manage them directly. Like if you go down the bottom to temporary files and tap on that, they actually give you an interface
to delete them. Yeah.
To delete. And this is a problem that Windows Phone has had since version 8 came out, where this temporary file thing would grow and grow and grow, and there was no interface to stop that from happening or to delete it. And now they have it now as part of GDR3.
So I guess I don't have an SD card in this?
Yeah, I don't think you added one.
Okay.
Right. You can. You still can.
I thought it had it. Okay, so I'm looking. I'm like, nothing on the SD card. So this is really cool. Is there any cosmetic changes or
no?
No. Okay.
The other big one that's going to be in settings is something called driving. What's it called?
The drive mode. I surprisingly that was in the news. Drive mode. Set up drive.
Driving. It's in there. It's in the list somewhere.
Okay, so I could set it up where I could ignore phone calls or ignore text messages while I'm driving.
But that's not the only point of this. And so, by the way, people see this and they think, why would I want to turn off text messages and phone calls? I'm driving. I have Bluetooth in my car. Obviously, I'm using this. I can do these things hands-free. And by the way, that's true. But those two things are options. Those aren't the only things that this turns off. It actually turns off all notifications. And what that means is, as you drive, so you're in your car. It's connected to the Bluetooth in the car. And you're doing whatever you're doing. Maybe you have maps on and you're using it to navigate. Maybe you also have music playing in the background or an Audible book or whatever it is. When those notifications occurred, like a calendar notification, a new email notification, whatever it is, those things would actually interrupt you as well. And in two ways, right? There's a kind of a toast thing that can occur depending on what kind of notification it is, which is a visual interruption. And then there are also audible interruptions in the form of, ringtones and other sounds that occur when certain events occur. Those things are turned off by driving mode as well. So you can optionally turn off phone calls and text, but you're also turning off these other things. It's not just about phone calls and text. So you kind of step through this wizard, but then you connect it. You connect it to the Bluetooth device that is in your car as part of the process. And the theory is you go out to your car, it detects that you've connected to that Bluetooth device, as it would when you go to your car, and then it goes into this mode. And depending on how you configure it, some or all of your notifications will no longer occur.
Okay.
So if you do set it up, by the way, to not interrupt you with phone calls or texts, you can optionally configure it to send a text reply to those people and say, hey,
I'm driving
in the car. I can't answer your message right now or your call. I will when I'm done.
I actually like that a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice feature.
Yeah. That's actually really cool.
Yep.
Well, I feel privileged that I have this installed now.
Sure.
I'm gonna experiment.
No, it's not. I mean, it's just nice. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's a great feature. I mean, it's a great update. It's got some stuff. Now, obviously, a big part of this update is the 1080p 5 to 6 inch phablet type phones, and we're going to see the first of those next week.
So
but there's other new features too, by the way. I should point out. There is other stuff.
The phablet announcement. I guess that's going to be with Nokia, where they're announcing a much larger phone. How big are they going to get? Have they put a kibosh on nothing over this much?
So the way it is officially what they're supporting is 5 to 6 inches. So 6 inches is the top end, but actually hidden in Update 3, this thing can support up to 10-inch devices. Okay. And in the future, we're probably going to see, actual like tablet type devices occur.
So what they had not wanted will be eventually happening.
Yep. Well, it's like one Windows, right? So they're going to, over time, combine Windows RT and phone, and they're just going to call this thing Windows. That's going to happen.
I think it's so funny to me because they made it so clear that with Windows Phone, it's for the phone only and not a tablet. You are not going to get a tablet from this.
So, by the way, yes, you're right. But this kind of parallels things that happened in the past. I'm not going to get this exactly right, but in the old days, when we had before Windows Mobile was called Windows Mobile, it was like Windows CE, and then they built like Pocket PC on top of it. As they pushed this system to phones, they split the code for a little while, and they had this one version. I think I'm going to get the name wrong. I apologize if this is wrong, but there was one name that was just called Pocket PC, and we might have just called it Pocket PC for PDAs. And then on the other side, they had a special version called Pocket PC for phone. And I'm probably getting the name wrong, but the phone version obviously had the dialer and the phone app and that kind of stuff. And then over time, they were like, well, this is really the same thing. I mean, this is just Windows, and it got rebranded eventually to Windows Mobile. But the idea was that if someone wants to make a device that doesn't have a phone built into it, it's not a phone. They just don't get that app. It's no big deal, or whatever other features a phone might have. And I think that's the way they're going to go here with.
I think it's a good direction. Yeah. I think it's a really good direction. I want to bring this up before we wrap up. I'm a big fan of the unsubsidized price points, and then something that I've always said.
We should talk about.
Yeah.
T-Mobile.
What about T-Mobile?
You hear this T-Mobile news this week?
No.
So T-Mobile was the first major carrier in the U.S. to go to this kind of contractless pricing, right? And not exactly, but they're changing the rules, and AT&T and Verizon jumped on the bandwagon very quickly. This past week, they announced that they're going to get rid of international roaming for internet and for text messages. And the deal is basically you have whatever plan you have, and when you go to Europe, you have that plan in Europe. And really it's not. You're not going to connect to LTE or whatever. It's going to be slightly slower internet, you're in Europe. But basically, you don't have to worry about that stuff. And then the price for phone calls is going to be, I'm getting this wrong. I'm doing this off the top of my head, but I want to say it's 20 cents a minute or something like that. But not very expensive. And so you pay extra for phone calls, but it's not dramatic. And this is I went to Europe and I spent a lot of money on international everything as I do, and I did it this time with 2 phones, and so it probably cost me $300 or something. But what I got for $300 was 2 phones with unlimited phone calling, texting, and internet, and I used them. I never went into airplane mode. I never went into no roaming. I just used them, and to me that's very valuable because I need to work. But for a lot of people, if you visit Europe or any other international destination, it can get very expensive, and especially if you're there you're on vacation, but you want to get your emails or something.
Yeah.
Basically, what T-Mobile is saying, you can do that now, and it's free.
That's great.
Or it's not an additional cost.
No, I
think by doing that, they're going to change everything.
Yeah, I think these companies are starting to smarten up a little bit. The craziest thing is that I paid $99 for this phone, but I guarantee you there's a equivalent phone to this somewhere in the Android world, let's say, that will probably be unsubsidized $500 something
by the way,
astronomical.
You can look this up. I don't know if it's iTeardown or whoever does this, but every time a new phone or other device comes out, there are companies that tear them apart and they say, this is how much these parts cost. Now, when you're an Apple or a Samsung, that's not how much those parts cost.
Because you're getting
those parts cost
phenomenal
less
deal. Yeah.
Because you buy a lot of them. So an iPhone 5S or an iPhone 5C cost Apple less than $200 to build. And that they're selling those things for $700, $800, $900, whatever the price is, depending on the version, is an absolute travesty. And it's not just them. I mean,
and they're all doing it. But Google...
But that phone that you bought for $99, that's how much that should cost. So how is an iPhone 5S, like it should be worth $300. If I can get a Lumia 520 for $100, I should be able to get an iPhone 5S for $300.
$300, $299, no contract. Just go and buy it. Well, Google.
And I think you have a note about this, about the Nexus 5.
I do.
In the notes today. If that's true, by the way, and I hope to God it is, because I have so much to buy. That phone which is the next version of the the Nexus phone, and I think it's based on the LG, what's it called, G2 or whatever.
The G2, yeah.
Looks like a beautiful phone, and possibly unsubsidized cost of up to $400.
That's great.
That'd be amazing.
Which, by the way, they did this with the Nexus 4. Okay, they did this. The problem
was it $300 for that?
It was $299 for the Nexus. I think it might have been $399 at first, and they dropped it down eventually. The problem with it was
that device it's fine, but it doesn't have LTE.
It didn't have LTE, no.
There's outside of the very latest version of the iPhone, LTE means you're tied to some carrier or some frequency. Apple now has like this universal LTE chip, and hopefully we're going to see that as well, because what you want is a phone that you could then bring to any carrier and get the same. Well,
here's the other issue with this. Google is doing that. They're putting a universal chip where you can take it to any carrier. And that's what they have in the Nexus 7. The new Nexus 7 has that.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
But Verizon is not accepting it. Verizon said no. Even though it's supported.
Even though it would work.
Even though it's supposed to work, they're saying it is not supported and they are not accepting it at this time. I feel that they will do the same with this phone. And you're going to go and you're going to buy it. You're going to spend $399, and you're not going to be able to take it to Verizon.
All right. Well, I can't help that, but I love this notion of universal compatibility. I love this notion of unsubsidized phones that are not super expensive. If you went into an Apple store and wanted to buy an iPhone with cash, I mean, I think they start at $700, like an iPhone 5S.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, you look at the Samsung, you look at the Galaxy S4. I mean, you're going to spend $600-700 on that thing.
Crazy expensive.
It's obscene.
Buy these things, like I just don't know how people.
Because we've allowed it. It's really come down to the point that we've allowed this to happen because people are. I'm sorry, but people are stupid and they don't think about the long-term cost. They're like, oh look, I'm getting this for $200. Yeah, but you're signing a contract. Well, I don't care. I'm going to be using them anyway. It's $200 until the time comes when they're like, oh, okay, I broke my phone. Now I need a new one.
Yeah,
and like, what do you mean it's $700?
This is the thing that drives me crazy about these contracts. You buy a subsidized I'm going to use iPhone. It doesn't matter. Any phone from AT&T or any carrier. It doesn't matter. And it's built into your bill. And so every month you're paying whatever you pay toward them, and you think it's going to different services you got, but really it's going to. Part of it's going to Apple, part of it's going to AT&T, whatever. 2 years goes by, and you have now paid for that phone, but your bill doesn't go down. You know, so you'd almost be insane not to upgrade at that point because your bill has not been adjusted to account for the fact that you have already, in fact, paid off that phone.
And there's no credit if you don't upgrade.
Credit.
You could hold on to the phone for 4 years. You're not getting two phones.
If that phone ever drops in your toilet or the screen breaks or whatever it is during the 2 years leading up to the time that you paid that thing off, you are screwed. You don't get even like an accounting of the amount of time that's gone by. Like you don't get like, well, the unsubsidized cost is $700, but you had the phone for 14 months before you broke it, so we're going to give you $200 off. You don't even get that. You just get to pay the full price. You know, this whole system is completely broken. It's completely broken.
I'll give one thing to Apple, and well, I give many things to Apple, especially my money. Many of my money they get. But my wife has an iPhone, and she had an iPhone 4S, and now she has a 5. She breaks this thing literally every 6 months. She'll drop it. She cannot have a phone and use it unless like she uses one of those big otter. What are they called? The otter boxes.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing is.
People do, right? These crazy huge
But they're
things.
disgusting. Nobody wants to use it. They look hideous, and it totally defeats the purpose of having a phone that looks nice. So she'll break them all the time. She just goes to the Apple store, says, I broke my phone. They go, okay, no problem. Hang on. They bring her a new one. They set it up for her, and she leaves. She doesn't have we don't have insurance on the phone. She has replaced, between the 4S and this one, she has replaced it 5 times.
But how does that work?
They just replace them. They don't care. If you go in there with a broken phone, they just take it and give you a new one.
Who does?
Apple.
I don't think that's the normal process.
It's crazy. Listen, I don't ask questions, but
I'm not accusing your wife of anything, but I'm just saying this is a little suspicious.
This has happened, and she's not the only one. I know a handful of other people that break their phones, go to Apple.
I assure you that people going into an Apple store trying to get something fixed for free, you're going to find more bad stories than good stories.
I don't know. Have any of our viewers experienced this? I think they have this thing where if it's under 6 months, they'll replace it.
Look, I have a classic story. This is absolutely true, and this is from a long time ago. But I bought a PowerBook 12, right, which was kind of like the original Ultrabook, if you think about it. $1,899. That's how much that thing cost. And this was a long time ago. This could have been 10 years ago now. It was a long time ago. I bought AppleCare because this was a really expensive product, and I wanted to make sure it was protected. I didn't have this thing for a couple of days. It fell off a shelf, landed on the corner, and I put a dent into the side of it, right where the kind of whatever it had, probably had a DVD drive. This is probably in the days where you had to pick between CDRW and DVD. I think I picked a DVD drive. So brought it back to the Apple store, which in those days was not in Dedham. It was really far away. I had to go to Chestnut Hill. Waited in line. Yeah, I broke I broke this thing. And he's like, well, we could fix it, but we're going to have to charge you for it. And I said, but I got AppleCare. And he says, AppleCare doesn't cover accidental damage. I said, that's okay. I broke it on purpose. And then he looked at me, did that Control-Alt-Delete thing or whatever, abort, retry, fail. He had no idea what I was talking about. I was like, you know what? Forget whatever. Okay, I get it. I can't fix it. So, this thing lived with a little dent. I had it like 3 days,
I've had nothing but great experiences with them. When I got this MacBook Pro, I dropped it. Literally, like the first day. Yeah. I just dropped it. I went to the store. I'm like, listen, there's nothing really wrong with it, but I feel like something is going to happen, and I dropped this thing.
But I feel like something is going to be wrong with it, and I just want to head that off.
6 months are going to go by, my limited warranty is going to expire, and it's just going to start smoking. And they go, okay, no problem. Let me just see if we have the same one in the back. They had the same one. They go, here you go. Swapped it out. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Don't believe that is the way it really works, or that is that is how it normally works.
The best warranty thing somebody ever told me. Okay, this was at Best Buy. I bought my first Mac, my just a regular old MacBook from there, and the guy goes, "Listen, I suggest you get the warranty." And I go, "Why?" He goes, "I'm not saying," he was a little shady guy. He's like, "I'm not saying you should do this, but when the warranty is ending and you happen to drop this thing down the stairs, we have to give you a new one." I'm like, I don't think that sounds right. And he's like, I'm not saying, maybe it just slipped. Maybe you had a can of Coke in your hand and you're walking down the stairs and this thing just goes down. And I don't mind
taking advantage of a system like that. I'm just suggesting that I just don't believe that this is how Apple is meant to be operated. Like,
so I told the guy, I'm like, listen, get it to me on paper. I'll make sure I throw this thing down the stairs and run it over with my car. He's like, I can't do that.
Right.
No, but I've had a great experience. But I know other situations like the stupid charger for this thing, for the MacBooks, are the worst. That thing, well, I'll show you what happens to it. This is my charger. This is 2 years old. Do you see how it's... This is the plastic that's tearing off and it's exposing, I guess, the metal.
You should lick that.
I should.
What happens when you bite that?
I don't know, but I'm sure if I drink enough, I'll try it. But so I've taken electric tape and I've wrapped this thing up. I called them, and this happened literally a couple months after I got it. I called them up and I told them, I'm like, listen, this is happening. This is like the third one it's happened to. I'm not using any cleaning products on it. It just, for whatever reason, the plastic gets soft and it just starts falling apart. Girl on the phone goes, you know what? Just bring it in. I'll replace it for you. I go in. There was no girl there to replace it. It's this guy, and he's like, I can't. He's like, oh, okay, let me replace it. I'll get you a new one. Okay, no problem. He goes to the back, brings it out. I give him this, and he goes, oh, no, I can't take this. I go, what do you mean? He goes, oh, but you put tape on it. I go, yeah, I put tape on it. I'm like, I don't want to get electrocuted. I had to use it. He goes, no, I can't take it. This is like, you've already modified it. You put tape on it. I'm like, what were you going to do with the other one? Just put it back on the shelf?
Yeah.
I'm like, so that's the time I got thrown out of the Apple store because I started screaming and they called the security and they told me to leave.
That's awesome.
So I've never gone back after that to that store.
It is amazing that I have never been thrown out of an Apple store.
I have. I'm proud to say it. I'm proud to say it. I've accomplished that. But that's our experience with that. I don't know. My wife is constantly going to the Apple store and just getting a new one every time. Maybe she's just stealing them. That's what I'm thinking at this point. She's just going in and grabbing it and running. I wouldn't put it past her. But the $299, $399, Paul, I think this is phenomenal. This is great. Yep. And
I love when this stuff happens. If this Google phone is what you say it is, and that's going to be amazing. This T-Mobile thing is amazing. It's going to cause AT&T and Verizon to change. You know, we don't have to just switch to T-Mobile to realize this benefit. I think this is going to change everything. And this stuff is going to make this stuff so much better.
And to like a regular person, this means nothing, but it actually means a lot for the long run because you're going to see more and more people do this. You know, Nokia is putting these out unsubsidized for $99. Google is starting to put out unsubsidized phones for $200, $300, $400. Slowly, you're going to see more and more of these manufacturers do it. And if you ask me, I think the days of having a subsidized phone are going to be gone in the next decade. The concept where we're paying, it's almost like we're being punished for not signing a contract. I think that's going to be totally out. Well, at least I hope. I don't know. Let's wrap it up, Paul. It's 4:16. We got to get out of here. Where has the time gone? You go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. Also, all things Paul Thurrott, winsuperside.com. I'm sure you're going to have a very busy couple days. Windows 8.1 is coming out. GDR3, you have a great write-up on your website about how to put GDR3 on your Nokia and your Windows Phone 8 device. Lots happening. Anything coming up, Paul? Are you traveling? Are you going anywhere?
No, I mean, I'm going into Boston tomorrow to see Panos Panay talk about Surface. Windows 8.1 obviously is coming out, Friday, whatever that is. That's going to be big. I mean, the next few weeks are going to be really busy between 8.1 and Surface. And then my next business travel, it hopefully won't be till December, but I don't have anything booked yet.
Very, very. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to start drinking now. It's 4:17. I gotta. I went to a vineyard. I didn't tell you. Mm-hmm. I went to a vineyard on Long Island, and it was a lot of fun. I got really drunk, and thank God I wasn't driving. That's all I have to say.
Nice.
Yeah, I had an awful wine headache the following day, but it was a lot of fun. Hey guys, before we end the show, also if you want to support the GFQ Network, you want to help us out, we have an Amazon affiliate link on our website at gfqlive.tv, or you could go to gfq.co/Amazon. If you're buying anything like a Windows Phone, the 520, it's $99. You could use our Amazon link, and we got a tiny little portion from that. It helps us out every time we need to do an upgrade, every time we need to buy something for the studio. we use the credits that we gain from your purchases. So I appreciate everybody doing that. Until next time, guys, we'll see you all next week on What the Tech. Good night, everybody.